The obsidian spacecraft cut through the vast emptiness of space like a blade through silk, its sleek, angular hull absorbing and refracting the soft shimmer of distant stars. The void around it was silent, but inside the ship, tension hummed like a wire stretched too tight. Two alien women sat in the cockpit, their features illuminated by the cool glow of the control panels. Their bald heads glinted faintly, smooth and unblemished, the light casting elegant shadows across their sculpted cheekbones. They sat without speaking, their bodies still but alert. Their silence wasn't out of peace, it was heavy with betrayal, anger, and confusion. Lara's emerald eyes glowed faintly as she stared at the stars, her expression hardened. "Can you believe this?" she said, her voice quiet, but filled with sharp edges. "They threw us away like broken tools. For what? For daring to think differently?" Kira, her sister, didn't respond immediately. She was always the more composed of the two, but even now, anger simmered beneath her calm surface. She ran a slender hand over her scalp, her voice soft. "We knew the consequences. We knew what our words could cost us. But this..." Lara's voice trembled with restrained fury. "Exile? Stripped of our name, our place in the collective? All because we spoke about freedom? About identity? As if wanting to be more than a piece of the hive was a crime. On Xander, individuality was a disease. The collective ruled every aspect of life, suppressing personal desire in favor of unity. Lara and Kira had questioned that doctrine, had spoken of self-expression, of choice. Their ideas had spread like fire among their peers, and so the High Council had acted swiftly, ruthlessly. Now, the sisters were headed toward a distant blue planet called Earth. A primitive, chaotic world. A punishment. The ship began to tremble as it approached the planet's atmosphere. Outside, flames bloomed across the hull, licking and roaring as the craft punched through the sky. The heat shields flared with energy. Inside, their bodysuits tightened, responding instinctively to the rising pressure. Neither woman flinched. With a deafening impact, the ship slammed into Earth's surface, carving a deep wound into a green field just outside a vast human city. Smoke rose from the gashes in the earth. The ship's metal groaned and hissed as it came to a halt. Then silence. A mechanical hiss echoed as the hatch slowly opened. Outside, dozens of humans had gathered. They were strange creatures, soft, varied in size and tone, dressed in primitive garments, gripping crude recording devices. Their mouths hung open in awe as they stared at the vessel. Lara and Kira stepped forward. The light hit their suits, silver-black fabric, tightly woven with living metal that shimmered as they moved. Their bodies were tall and graceful, their every motion controlled. They stood as warriors, as royalty, as exiles. "They're barely evolved," Lara murmured under her breath. "Look at them, staring at us like frightened animals." "Be careful," Kira warned, her voice low. "We're not here to conquer. We're here to survive. That means blending in." The crowd murmured. Some whispered, others snapped pictures. Then a path opened through the people, and a man emerged. He wore a dark uniform, flanked by soldiers. His gaze shifted between awe and suspicion. He stepped forward slowly, raising a hand. "I'm General Marcus Briggs," he said. His voice was steady, but his fingers trembled slightly. "On behalf of the United Earth Government, welcome. We come in peace." Lara crossed her arms, unimpressed. Her gaze flicked over his weaponed entourage with disdain. But Kira stepped forward and dipped her head in a soft, respectful nod. "I'm Kira. This is my sister, Lara," she said gently. "We were cast out by our people. Sent here not by will, but by decree. Yet perhaps, this punishment may be a beginning, not an end." The general blinked, surprised by her eloquence. "I see," he said, then cleared his throat. "Well, in that case, welcome to Earth. We'll make arrangements for your stay. Please, come with me." As the sisters stepped off the ramp, leaving the ruins of their ship behind, a new emotion flickered inside them, something unfamiliar. Not hope. Not yet. The room was cold. Sterile. Its walls were a flawless white, too bright, too blank, designed to be disorienting. Lara and Kira sat across from a panel of humans. Soldiers. Scientists. Government officials. General Briggs sat at the center, his hands folded, eyes studying them carefully. They had been questioned for hours. So let me get this straight, Briggs said finally, rubbing his temples. You were exiled, just for having different ideas? About freedom? Lara's emerald eyes narrowed. You wouldn't understand, she said bitterly. On Xander, the collective is everything. Individuality is seen as a sickness. A threat. Beside her, Kira gently placed a hand on her sister's arm, grounding her. What Lara means, she said softly, is that our society values unity to the point of erasing identity. We believed there could be strength in our differences, that true unity comes from acceptance, not control. Briggs leaned back in his chair, silent for a moment. And now that you're here, he asked, what do you intend to do? The sisters exchanged a glance. They had asked themselves that same question again and again during the voyage, but now that it had arrived, the answer still felt uncertain. We don't know, Kira admitted quietly. We never thought it would come to this. The general nodded slowly. Well, our responsibility is to protect sentient life. You'll be placed in a secure facility. Not as prisoners, but guests. You'll have access to everything you need. Food, shelter, communication. And people to help you adjust. Lara's jaw tightened. Guests with locked doors and guards at every corner. But she didn't resist. Neither of them did. They followed silently through narrow, brightly lit corridors. The walls buzzed faintly with electricity, the sharp scent of disinfectant lingering in the air. The facility was clean, but lifeless. As they walked, Lara leaned closer to her sister. I don't trust them, she whispered. They're hiding something. I can feel it. Kira's brow furrowed. Maybe, but we have no choice. We're alone here. We need their help, at least for now. Their quarters were small. 2 narrow beds. A desk. A single window looking out into a courtyard patrolled by soldiers. There was a bathroom, a few books on human culture, and a metal closet with plain earth clothing. Nothing else. Lara sank onto one of the beds with a groan. From the stars, to this. A cell with soft sheets. Kira sat beside her, offering a small smile. It's not all bad. Maybe it's an opportunity. A new world. A different way of life. You always said you wanted to see what was out there. Lara rolled her eyes. I wanted freedom, not exile. I know, Kira said, her voice low. But this is what we have now. Maybe it's not the end of the story. That night, neither of them slept. And yet, in the darkness, as the moonlight filtered through the window, something inside them stirred. A quiet, aching question neither dared to speak. What if this planet was more than just a cage? Days passed. Then weeks. The sisters began to learn about Earth. They watched broadcasts and documentaries, flipped through dusty books, listened to music that roared with raw passion and sorrow. Lara was drawn to it, Earth's art, its chaos, its reckless emotion. It was messy and loud and unashamed. She admired that. Kira buried herself in the science of this world. Its crude but clever machines, its efforts to reach the stars without even understanding their own oceans. Their will to create, to adapt, it fascinated her. Yet something still felt missing. They had each other, boys. But the silence between them had grown longer. Their smiles more forced. There was a void, invisible but present, that neither could name. One day, they were escorted through the city, shadowed by guards but allowed to walk freely. It was part of their cultural immersion. The city was overwhelming. Tall buildings, neon lights, smells of food, sweat, exhaust. People everywhere. And yet, amid the noise, they found themselves drawn to a small marketplace tucked into a corner of the city. It was vibrant. Stalls lined with spices, cloth, trinkets. Music drifted lazily from somewhere unseen. The air was thick with voices, with movement, with life. Lara paused at a stall of handcrafted jewelry. Thin chains of silver. Bracelets shaped like stars and moons. Not perfect, but personal. Look at these, she whispered. So much care. Every piece feels like it has a story. Kira picked up a pair of earrings shaped like twin comets. They're beautiful, she said. These people may be primitive, but they find beauty in the simplest things. The vendor, an elderly man with a soft smile and wise eyes, struck up a conversation. He asked gently where they were from. They told him. He listened. You've lost a great deal, he said thoughtfully. But maybe you were meant to. Sometimes we lose what we know to find what we truly need. Lara frowned. What do you mean? The man chuckled. Love, my dear. The only force greater than fear. Stronger than war. Deeper than blood. Love is the thing we never see coming, but it always finds us. Kira blinked. We have each other. That's enough. Love between sisters is precious, the man said, nodding. But there's another kind. A kind that makes the universe smaller. That joins two hearts in ways even science can't explain. They left the stall in silence. That night, as they sat by the window, looking out over the city, the old man's words lingered. Maybe, just maybe, there was more to Earth than exile. Maybe they weren't as alone as they thought. In the quiet halls of the facility, two men watched from a distance. Sergeant Jake Smith leaned against a wall near the observation bay, his arms folded across his chest. He was broad-shouldered, rough around the edges, with sharp blue eyes that rarely missed a detail. Standing beside him was Corporal Alex Donovan, leaner, quieter, but no less focused. His gaze often lingered longer than it should have on the surveillance feed showing the sisters. They weren't supposed to care. They had been briefed like everyone else. Two alien refugees, potentially dangerous, being monitored for safety. But Jake and Alex had been assigned to the facility's internal security, which meant they saw more than the rest. They had studied every gesture, every sigh, every silent glance between Lara and Kira. Jake was drawn to Lara's intensity, her fierce gaze, the fire in her voice. She wasn't afraid to speak her truth, even in the face of judgment. Alex was captivated by Kira's grace. The way she lit up when speaking of science, her quiet awe when learning about the stars Earth had barely reached. He saw something in her that reminded him of dreams he'd long buried. They weren't supposed to care. But they did. Still, both knew the rules. Fraternization between humans and alien guests was strictly forbidden. Too many unknowns. Too much risk. But rules couldn't suppress what had already begun to take root. One night, while on patrol near the sisters' quarters, the silence was broken by a loud crash. Jake and Alex exchanged a glance. Weapons drawn, they burst through the door. They found no threat. No intruder. Only Lara and Kira, standing in the middle of the room, locked in a heated argument in their native language. Their faces were flushed with anger. Pain simmered beneath every word. Jake lowered his weapon. What's going on? Lara turned sharply, eyes blazing. This doesn't concern you. But Kira stepped forward, her voice trembling. We need help, she said. We can't keep pretending everything is fine. We're falling apart. She turned to Alex, her voice barely a whisper. Please. We don't know who to talk to. We don't know how to be here. Alex glanced at Jake. Another silent exchange. A choice. Jake slowly holstered his weapon. All right, he said. We're here. We'll listen. But this stays between us. The tension shifted. The air softened. They sat. All four of them. No longer soldier and alien. Just people. Talking. Lara opened up first, speaking of the crushing silence since their exile, the weight of being strangers in a world that smiled but didn't understand. Kira spoke of hope fading, of waking each day with a hollow ache and pretending it wasn't there. Jake listened, his eyes never leaving Lara. He saw beyond her sharp tongue and hard shell, a woman who had given everything for a belief and lost more than he could imagine. Alex watched Kira, moved by her vulnerability, her longing for purpose, for understanding. As the night deepened, so did the connection. Jake leaned forward, his voice quiet. You're stronger than any soldier I've met. But strength doesn't mean you don't need someone beside you. Lara studied him. For the first time, there was no defensiveness in her eyes. Just a flicker of something else. I spent my life fighting to be seen, she said. You see me? Kira looked at Alex, their hands resting inches apart. I've felt alone since we arrived. But with you, it's like something lost has returned. Alex's voice was steady. You're not alone anymore. There were no promises spoken. No grand declarations. Just silence, warm and alive, shared between four people who had crossed galaxies to find a connection they never knew they needed. In that moment, something shifted. The void they had carried inside them for so long wasn't empty anymore. In the days that followed, something bloomed in the quiet spaces between Lara, Kira, Jake, and Alex. It wasn't loud or rushed. It was slow, cautious, but real. They talked more, about Earth, about Xander, about the ache of belonging somewhere they no longer could return to. Jake and Lara often found themselves walking together under the moonlight, their words few but meaningful. When she laughed for the first time since their exile, he didn't say anything. He just held the sound in his heart like treasure. Alex and Kira spent hours in the facility's lab, poring over Earth's primitive tech and dreaming up new possibilities. He loved the way her eyes lit up when she explained energy flow in interdimensional worm gates, even if he barely understood it. She loved how he never made her feel strange for thinking the way she did. They were falling in love. All of them. But love never comes without a cost. Far above Earth, in the cold, distant reaches of space, the Xandarian High Council watched. Lara and Kira's adaptation to Earth, their growing affection for humans, and their open embrace of individuality, it was worse than exile. It was rebellion, infection, contagion, and the collective did not tolerate contagion. Without warning, they sent an elite strike team, warriors born from the hive, trained in silence, bred for loyalty. Their orders were simple: eliminate the sisters. Eliminate any who stood with them. Leave no trace of their defiance. The attack began with light. A blinding flash tore across the sky like a second sun. Explosions followed. Then screams. The facility shook as Xandarian vessels descended like daggers from the heavens. Energy blasts tore through buildings. Panic spread like wildfire. Jake and Alex reached the sisters' quarters seconds before the first blast hit. We have to move. Jake shouted, his eyes wild. They're here, and they're not taking prisoners. Lara's eyes burned with the fury of betrayal. They're going to destroy everything. Everything we've built. Kira stepped forward, calm despite the chaos. Then we don't run. Lara turned to her sister. Their eyes met. Side by side. Always. Jake and Alex didn't hesitate. Then we fight with you, Alex said. They suited up. The four of them burst into the night, weapons drawn. The sky above was a storm of fire. The ground shook beneath their feet. But they moved with precision, a unit born of trust and love. Lara and Jake fought together like fire and steel, blades flashing, covering each other's backs. Lara took down 3 soldiers with terrifying grace, then pulled Jake out of the line of fire just as a bolt scorched the air beside him. He grinned, panting. Thanks for the save, gorgeous. She smirked. Anytime, soldier. Now cover me. Across the battlefield, Kira and Alex moved like light and shadow. She ducked low, her plasma weapon pulsing with blue energy. Alex struck high, rifle swinging like a hammer. Duck! Alex shouted. Kira dropped just in time, and he took out the soldier behind her. She rolled, came up firing, and dropped 3 more. They paused, back to back, breathing hard. We make a good team, she said, a small smile tugging at her lips. The best, he replied, eyes shining. The battle raged for hours. Human forces joined the fight, inspired by the aliens who had once been outsiders. Together, they pushed the Xandarian elites back, inch by bloody inch. But then the sisters were surrounded. A circle of Xandarian warriors closed in, energy spears humming, eyes cold and blank. Lara looked to Kira. Jake to Alex. No one flinched. If this is it, Jake said, I don't regret a thing. Neither do I, Lara whispered, reaching for his hand. Kira turned to Alex. We face it together? Always. Then came the charge. But just as the circle closed, something miraculous happened. The tide turned. From behind, A flood of human reinforcements surged forward, breaking the enemy lines. Explosions lit the sky. The Xandarians began to fall back, their formation broken. And when the dust finally cleared, when the smoke lifted and the sun began to rise, Lara, Kira, Jake, and Alex stood in the center of the battlefield, bruised, bloodied, but alive. They had survived. Together. Weeks passed. The threat was gone. The facility lay in ruins, but a new home was already being built, a sanctuary for unity, for healing. The sisters were no longer just guests. They were symbols of hope. One evening, as the sun dipped below the rebuilt skyline, the four of them stood on a hilltop overlooking the city. Lara leaned into Jake's chest, her eyes soft. "I never thought I'd find home here," she whispered. "But with you, it feels right." Jake smiled, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "You are my home, Lara. Wherever you are, that's where I belong." Kira and Alex stood nearby, hands clasped, watching the horizon. "We've been through so much," Kira said, voice thick with emotion. "But I wouldn't change a thing. Every step led us here." Alex nodded. "And whatever comes next, we face it side by side." The light faded from the sky, but something brighter remained between them, a bond that stretched beyond stars and species. One built on trust, on sacrifice, and love. In the end, Lara and Kira had found more than survival. They had found freedom. They had found love. They had found a place to belong. And no matter what the universe held in store, they knew they would never face it alone again. The end.